Welcome back, everybody. Your designated inquirer for today. My name's Axel, and today's market day is 7/22 of 2020. Today, Tesla reported, and so did Microsoft, along with a few other stocks. But other information and news notable for today is that basically the U.S. is now having increased tensions with China. Overnight, what we ended up seeing was basically, if we can switch to a more detailed section, yesterday we had basically dropped for most of the day, seeing that as we couldn't have made overreach the previous top before. What ended up happening was a drop, and then overnight, and then when we got that information that basically the US closed down the Houston Chinese Embassy, stocks dropped because that means that there's a less likelihood of a trade deal with China that has been now not happening for the past year, which it should have already been here. Certain phases should have already kicked in, but they have not. Trade talks have effectively been halted, but this points to more aggrieved circumstances with China, and so we've got basically a less of a likelihood of a trade deal happening with them, or less trade happening outright, because how are you supposed to basically increase trade with a country if you're closing down your embassies with that country in your own country? It doesn't make any sense. So that's what the market was effectively pricing in. The whole day, though, it didn't react one way or another because it was basically waiting for the print or the earnings coming out for Tesla and for Microsoft, which happened at the end of the day. Let's take a look at Microsoft to see how it reported. My MSFT. Here we've got the call just started right here, and we'll take a look more in detail. It had a drop. Let's take a look at what the drop was. A maximum drop of basically 3%, but right now it's hanging out around 2.9%, which is a pretty decent drop for something like a Microsoft. The stock had a slight beat with earnings coming in at $1.46 per share, where the estimate was at $1.34. And right now the CEO is basically talking with the investors and taking questions from them, along with other analysts and stuff like that. You have sometimes anomalies in terms of trade prices that get executed because somebody's putting out a either large or small, like a market offer, like they'll just take any and whatever available stock is on the market, and when that happens, sometimes somebody leaves a high priced stock, and so the amount of supply will get eaten up and take that one offer at a significantly higher price. In this case, it's just the price that it happened to close at. So it's not too surprising that somebody's order was filled, because generally after hours your volume is significantly decreased compared to the rest of the day. Okay, so that was Microsoft. All right, so now what happened to Tesla? Tesla's a little bit of a different story. It had a jump maximum about almost 8%. Right now it's living at around 4%. For Tesla, this is actually a pretty small move in comparison to other kinds of moves it's had in the past and other kinds of swings it's had. Though generally you could say that a majority of the movement can come after the fact, but a lot of times, like over here, you can see basically a move of 17%, and that's off of a beat. Let's take a look real quick to see what kind of a beat this was. Where they were expecting a loss of 25 cents or 26 cents basically, and they ended up getting $1.86 and ended up having profit. So that's quite a big beat. Now what you have here on the other side is that something similar happened where the estimate was at a loss of $2.35, but it ended up making $2.18. While that was the estimate recorded on there, what the average on the street was of all the analysts that happened to be covering the stock was around 3 cents, and the highest was around $1.45. So compared to the highest estimate, it's not an incredible beat, but based on the average, it is an incredible beat still. And in either case, a move like this or a type of beat like this would generally incur a much larger move, but it did not. So what does that mean in terms of like the trajectory of the stock in and of itself? Well, what that means is that basically most of the move that we've seen in the stock so far, this run up from the last reporting date, which is around here, from 800 all the way to basically 1600, this 100% move, this reporting was basically already baked in. It didn't move much more to the upside or to the downside in comparison to 20%. So we're basically right where it's supposed to be. Whether or not it follows the market, the S&P, now that it's eligible to be included into it further on to reflect changes in the general economy, etc. or whatnot, now it's more subject to what the index does. Likewise, the index, including the Nasdaq, which it's already part of, are now subject to its movements. So if it kind of gave you, if it's basically already topped out, what it means for the more general market, or what it could mean, is that it could possibly now drop, because most of the movement to the upside has already happened. And there's a lot more other stocks that have basically reported at just as well and or less well. So now there's slightly downward momentum in terms of like what's possible for the general market in terms of the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, and or the Dow. The Russell had a little bit of a different reaction to what's been going on. The Russell 2000, which takes into account like a lot of different smaller cap stocks of the overall market of what's available on the New York Stock Exchange. It takes into account basically the 2,000 smaller cap stocks, which includes bio, pharmaceuticals, metals, miners, retail stores, a lot of different things. It basically saw an increase after hours today. And what we can kind of like apply to that is that there was Chipotle that reported well, I do believe. And also Best Buy that reported well this morning before the open. So those contributed. Let me see if I can find Chipotle stocks. CPK? CHK? No. Chipotle. CMG is the stock. So let's take a look at CMG real quick. CMG. And yeah, so it reported well. Since the open, it has basically done very similar to what other tech stocks have done. But I think from what I've been hearing from CNBC, etc., whatnot, and other analysts is that the reason it's acted like a tech stock is because it's tried to tie a lot of its mobile orders to its own app, which it has been developing for quite a while now. And that's helped it basically be able to survive during coronavirus times when, you know, they're doing their own delivery and or they're may be partnering in certain regions with delivery service. But they're able to still get to their customer, which they've been training already, to be able to reach them through a mobile app. So that's why it's been more or less acting like other tech stocks. The estimate was 39 cents and it reported 40, so it was a slight beat, like very slight beat. After hours it dropped, it kind of recovered, it's kind of all over the place, it doesn't really know what to do, but it's more or less down a little bit. So unless you're making an unbelievable beat, and even then with Tesla, you're still only getting a slight uptick in terms of price compared to the general movement on any other given day. It's not a really significant movement. So this is what we're seeing here, is probably a fatigue in terms of price discovery to the upside. Like this is the best news you could possibly get, and it's not enough to keep it moving upward. Like how what you guys go back to the video I was talking about yesterday, where there's nobody that's willing to say, I'm willing to pay the highest price it's ever been, and still I think I can sell it for higher. Somebody else is going to come after me and buy it for higher. I don't think people are doing that. They're not making that decision anymore, and so they're not willing to pay the highest it's ever been. So that's a trend that's continuing to happen, and there's more negative news, or more news that may happen to have a negative connotation on the movement, on prices in general. It's not good for the general economy, it's not good for the global economy, that basically China and the US are having a spat. The world is a lot more interconnected. Globalism is not just it's not a cliche, it's not a fad. This is where we live. This is the world we live in and how it exists. It has been for the past 150 years, but you know, we've been slow to accept this as a reality. But you know, we should be focusing on making peace, on making things work, on calling out behaviors and things that don't make any sense. But yeah, that's basically where we are. I hope you guys have had a good day. I hope you guys are staying safe. Yeah, I will be catching you guys tomorrow with another market wrap up, another recap of what's been going on, any economic indicators that could be coming around the corner. Oh, I guess one more piece of information is that Republicans more or less had some trouble yesterday coming together on like what was their agenda for stimulus. It seems that they have somewhat coalesced around an idea where instead of a 600 a week, it's basically 400 a month extra for unemployment, and that's assuming that you have, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it's assuming you have unemployment benefits to even get paid out to you. And people, I assume, are starting to run out of their unemployment benefits here pretty soon, and when that system runs out, people are gonna have a harder time being able to make their payments. It's gonna get rough here pretty soon, and October's around the corner. So even though they may be extending the PPP program, I'm not sure too many more companies want to extend the timeline in which they don't or can't fire people, considering what the rate at which they're burning cash and just being able to pay the rent on their own buildings and their own locations, and for inventory and or keeping the lights on, internet services, utilities, you name it. It's still pretty tough. Yep. So till tomorrow, I've been your designated inquirer. I'll see you then. You guys take care now. Goodbye.